Good morning and welcome to another edition of The Aftermath on Tab Radio Racing and Sport. This is where we cover off on the highlights and lowlights of racing and sport over the past 24 hours. If you missed any of the action on Saturday, we will have every angle covered. Keep the dial locked on Tab Radio Racing and Sport for another action-packed edition of The Aftermath.
Yes, a very good morning. Welcome along. It is The Aftermath. Marty Young at Gloucester Park, and over there in beautiful Melbourne is Brad Hardie, who joins us. A very good morning, Bradley.
Good morning, Marty. Good morning, Sophie. Good morning, listeners. And the sun's just cracked through here. The clouds, a bit of overcast, but it's going to be a good day of racing down at Sale. What about yesterday, Marty? Fair dinkum via Sistina. Well,
wow.
I thought when Pride of Jenny spread eagled them up there in Sydney not so long ago, I thought, well, that's the best win you'll see ever. Well, I think I got trumped yesterday, don't you think?
Yeah, certainly. That was one win for the ages. And you mentioned a name just then, Sophie, the assassinator. She is back. She's had 3 weeks up in the land of the rising sun and beautiful Japan, and she's back. So everyone, be very careful. Be very careful.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's a thing because I think it was back in 1977 today. It was the weekend that Meatloaf released "Bat Out of Hell." So,
what an album!
It was a good time. What an album that was!
And he still gets you 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Your signature tune
gets me every week. No, that was outstanding there yesterday.
Aftermath.
Hang on a sec, we'll do the weather.
Tab Touch. Better your bets with Tab Touch.
Okay, it's going to be a warmer one today. Got a warm week coming up, finally. Didn't spring just as it does every year? You get a nice warm day somewhere in September and your beauty, we're down, and then we've been wearing overcoats for the last 2 months. The old southeaster, doesn't it get everyone? But we are 28 degrees today, easterlies, 15 to 25, back to a southwesterly. So we're getting into that summer weather pattern. And currently here in Perth, 14.3. Broome, 36. Karratha, 38. Port Hedland, 41. Carnarvon, 33 degrees. Geraldton, 30. Northam, for the Cup today, 30 degrees. Kalgoorlie, 28.
Wow.
Mandurah 24, Pinjarra 27, Bunbury 24, Albany 20, and Esperance 21 degrees. And we're racing at Laverton as well up in the northeastern goldfields today. And over your way, Brad, it's Sale Cup Day.
Yes, it certainly is. Should be a great day's racing down there, Marty. Overcast, as I say, the sun's just broken through. Expected top of 24. So but yesterday's day was absolutely magical out there at Moonee Valley. It was about 21 degrees. Perfect for the punters, perfect for the horses, and we had a great day's racing.
Oh, we certainly did. And what about the crowd? It looked fantastic there yesterday.
Unbelievable. Now, geez, it's expensive to get in the races. You know, it's $75 just to get in yesterday.
Wow. Yeah.
Unbelievable. If you want to go in the member, it was $350. So it was pretty exy, but well worth it. But I will say, on the back of Via Sistina's win, which was actually outstanding, I tell you what, I fell in love yesterday with a horse called Prognosis. Not big Prognosis.
Yes.
What an athlete of a horse it looked and did and ran. You know, got beaten by a superior one, but God almighty, if you're building a blueprint for a horse, that's the one you want.
I remember going to the Caulfield Cup when Railings won it.
Yep.
Come off the Metrop and won that race, and they had the Japanese gallopers. One of the first times that Japanese gallopers have been here to Australia, and I remember at Caulfield just looking at this horse, I was gobsmacked. It was like... Yeah. I'd never seen a horse like it, and had the big hood on, the colourful hood then. This is way back then. And every time they bring one out, you just fall in love with their shape, don't you?
Well, maybe on the Retrovision text line, somebody could just text in what their favourite athlete, not necessarily a big winner. I tell you who used to be the favourite, still is, was Rogan Josh. What an athlete of a horse it was. Unbelievable. I saw it out at, after post-racing out there at Legends at the airport in Tullamarine. Oh, what a commanding athlete he was. Incredible. Looked like he could race again.
Yeah, you know when you're in their presence, that is for sure. The Retrovision text line, get them in, but so if we're in trouble, the phone's flat. I thought it was, and now it is. It's done. So we'll have to put this on charge. But get them in, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. We've got a terrific show lined up today. This is a beauty. You know Sophie's back in town when she's producing guests like this. So Vin Cox, he'll be along at about 20 minutes past 6. GM of Yulong. Do you reckon they're not going any good? Chris Nelson and Racetrack Ralphy. And we're going to have a good 15 minutes with the Ralph man to sum up what a day it was at Moonee Valley there yesterday. Now, Jonathan Crowley, bloodstock manager for Anthony Cummings. And he, of course, won the spring champion stakes there with Al Cabela. And what a win that was. This horse, who's your on topper for the Derby at the moment?
Oh, yeah, I wonder where they're going to push on. It was tough yesterday. It had to be tough, yeah. He got challenged all the way down the straight, and things didn't quite pan out, I'm sure. They were there early, and I just wonder whether they'll risk it. They probably will, but what a meteoric rise it's had, Marty, coming from a maiden to winning a spring champion.
It won a maiden, then it won a midway. And then it won the Gloaming. You reckon it was a good thing in the midway? The 72.
Wouldn't you be dirty fronting up that day in the midway? Oh, and the trainer's going, we've got an excellent chance today. You get beaten by something you've never heard of.
Yeah. So this is a betting now for the Victorian Derby. So El Costello's $3. Yep. The 3-year-old broadsiding out of the Cox Plate is $4. Interesting. Yes. Red Aces, $6. King of Thunder, $8. So they thought out the vase yesterday. St. Emilion, who won the Derby trial at Geelong, is $8. Keeneland, $8. China Sea, King of Wall Street, all 11. Out the Gold Rush, Guru, 13. Surely Swift Falcon couldn't come on that run yesterday. He's at $15 for the Hawks team, then you're getting out. So it's wide open, this Victorian Derby.
My word it is, if El Costello does go around, that's for sure. Look, Red Aces, trained by Nick Ryan,
yes.
The colourful characters own that one.
Yes.
They were all out there yesterday. So,
yes.
It was a hottest tip. It was a street corner tip everywhere, yesterday. And quite often those don't land, but it landed. What a fighting finish it was. So, you could throw a handkerchief over the first few. So, not sure about that form on that one. But no doubt if El Costello goes there, it will and should run favourite.
Okay, now, World Series, we've got to talk about this one. Brad, I know you're a great baseball man.
Yes.
World Series, well, what about this? Let's have a listen.
Cortez delivers. Freeman hits the ball to right field. She is gone! Gibby, meet Freddie!
That was out of there, wasn't it, Brad? So what had happened? Game one, the Dodgers, they're down 2-3, bases loaded, and up comes Freddie Freeman. Now, Freddie Freeman, the big boy, is 195 centimetres, and they do put their weights in over there, Brad. And
they do.
Got him listed as 100 kilograms. He could even be a tad heavier these days. But the big left-hander, the minute he hit that, it was going out of the stadium.
Yeah, unbelievable. And that's what you go to watch, isn't it, too, as well? And I spoke to a great mate of mine who's involved. Remember Johnny Deeble? Remember the name John Deeble? He's been involved in Australian baseball for a long time, but he's been a scout for various. He's lining up for about his 6th or 7th ring, mate, in the World Series. So it's a phenomenal game. I used to watch it a fair bit. I used to enjoy the Perth heat.
Yes,
they had to move around a bit before they got their established home now. Remember the old days
at Parry Field? How good was that?
That Parry Field. But they played at the Wacker there for a while too, as well, which was interesting. But and then before they settled out there in Canningvale. So good on them.
Hey, Brad.
Love the baseball.
Yeah, so the result of game one was that the Dodgers win at 6-3 from being 2-3 down. And so the World Series alive and well there with those two great sides from New York battling it out. So, Brad, also yesterday, New Zealand defeat India. First time the Indians have lost on home soil since 2012. First ever for New Zealand over there, winning that match by 113 runs. So the Indians now come out to Australia off the back of a defeat at home.
I know, and the young fellow, he took 13 wickets for the game. It was just an outstanding performance by them. I tell you what, across the ditch, they're starting to really make some waves. I mean, they've only got, 5 million in total population? They're winning everything at the moment. It's quite remote. We've got to slow them down. We've got to slow them down, Marty.
Well, we've always said they bat out of their weight division, don't they, or fight out of their weight division. But that was a terrific effort.
Oh, outstanding effort. And, mate, we're no closer to speaking of the Australians and talking about India. We're no closer to realising who's going to be batting at the top end for us in the upcoming series. No one seems to want to put their hand up.
Well, of those three that everyone is talking about, no, but I've got a little... Here's one from left field. What about a guy called Nathan McSweeney? Plays for South Australia.
Yes.
This is what he's produced.
Coming into calculations.
Yeah, 55, 127 not out, 37, 72, and he's made 137 against Queensland in a one-dayer. He bats at number 3 for South Australia, but the thought is he could leapfrog this, the current 3 that they're talking about. He will captain Australia v India A, Australia A v India A, and there's a little thought that Labuschagne could go up and they could put McSweeney in at number 3. Now, that's a bit left field.
Yeah, no, I think Labuschagne where he is. I'd put the kid, I'll give him a chance at the opening with Khawaja. Khawaja just sits on his bat these days, and he's going to be 38 this summer, so he's just going to hold down and end. They're probably looking for that stroke player who, can, I mean, love him or hate him. And when Warner was there, if he made 25, he made them quickly. You know what I mean? So they can't afford to have 2 blokes sitting on their back. They can't have 2 dull batsmen at the top end. But McSweeney might be a chance there. And Labuschagne, not yet. He's far from in trouble. But he's only made 1 century in his last 39 digs.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not good. And he's still averaging 50, so you've got to give him that. But, I think leave him where he is and hopefully he can find his feet.
Metres to go, a length and a half to Prognosis, who's nice and close. They're 2 lengths in front of Via Sistina, who's coming into it. Mr. Brightside's coming with her, and then came Royal Patronage. Pride of Jenny grabbed by Prognosis, but Via Sistina now pushes the button on the outside and goes up and takes the lead. Via Sistina, 300 metres to go, puts up 2 legs. Prognosis, Docklands, Mr. Brightside, and then came Royal Patronage, but Via Sistina storms away with 150 to go. She's 4, 5 lengths in front. It's going to be a Cox Plate rout, and James McDonald, a century of the very best. Via Sistina by 7 lengths.
Well, it doesn't get any better than that. And Vin Cox, our very special guest, MD at Geelong, joins us this morning. Vin, are you still shaking, pinching yourself and thinking, wow, what did we see yesterday?
Yes, no, good morning, mate. Look, still pinching myself, probably running on adrenaline, and if the truth be known, I've had better awakenings, but we'll get through the day. There's plenty to enjoy.
Hey, Marty Brad, Hardie, congratulations, my friend. Just take us through the week from Breakfast with the Stars on Tuesday.
Well, Brad, wasn't the ideal preparation, as they say, but look, Tuesday was pretty dramatic. I wasn't there, but our racing manager, Troy Stevens, was on site, and his name popped up on my screen at 5:45 in the morning. I thought, well, this can't be good news. And his opening words were, "I'm watching Via Sistina do laps at Moonee Valley at flat gallop without James McDonald on." It's like, oh wow, what do we do here? But full credit to Chris Waller and his team. They took control of the situation very quickly, got the mare settled and back down, calmed down, and the communication from the yard was always very positive, and looking like that we were that nothing had really untoward had taken place, and we had till Saturday morning to really make a decision. And Moonee Valley were very kind and allowed us to take her back to the track on Thursday. And she was relaxed and calm, and so was all systems go. And clearly, all the right decisions were made.
Just on that, Vin, I mean, we say elite sports, 90% above the shoulders. Is that what Chris was thinking with the horse as well, to take it back there on Thursday to meet its fears?
Yeah, I think just to make sure she wasn't too spooked about the whole experience, and she was just there for a light jog, and that's what she did. And he sent us a lot of footage of her going around there on Thursday morning, and she was as calm and relaxed as you'd hope. So there was a well laid out plan and well thought out from Chris and his team, and full credit to them. He brought her usual rider down from Sydney to ride her just to make sure that she felt right. It was a box-ticking exercise, and they just went through it methodically.
So going forward, is this going to see a change in the way people train their horses? This undertraining of horses has just got to stop. Maybe Bart had it right all those years ago.
Exactly. So one of the wags at the races said, yeah, well, we've got this work cover situation. We've just solved that. We don't need riders.
Just let them go on their Pat Malone.
Now, I'm sure you've had a debrief with James McDonald after the race. You must have been delighted the way it panned out, particularly going out the straight the first time, because everybody anticipated that Pride of Jenny would probably try and smoke them and get out in front. But it took a long time for her to get to the front, so that meant the field was quite concertinaed in a sense going out of the straight the first time.
The fact that she didn't really stretch them right out, particularly early on, that actually worried me, because I thought that if there's no pace on or not enough pace on, it sort of dulls the chances of those further back in the field. So, but they were going obviously at a good clip. She eventually got there and rolled along a bit better, and but from about the 500, you could see she was battling and we were charging into it. And, no, it was from there. I didn't see much more of the race. Just enjoyed the moment. It was fantastic. It was
almost a perfect old-style Cox Plate ride, wasn't it? Getting going at the school, looping them and winning, and then just coming away like she did. And to give James McDonald his 100th Group 1 win, how good was that?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I've had a reasonable association with J Mac over the years, and no, it was as exciting a victory as I've been a part of, and he certainly enjoyed the moment, as we all did. But it's great credit to him. 100 Group 1s is easier said than done, and when you sit back and think about that, it's a wonderful achievement from him, and just to do it in a Cox Plate, no less. The Weight for Age Championship of Australian Racing. It's just a really cool result for him.
And it's a great amphitheatre, isn't it, Moonee Valley, particularly at Cox Plate time, full crowd, etc. And you had the big boss down. He was there. He was on course. I bet you he was delighted.
Yes, he was strutting around like a peacock last night. It was great. He was there with his family, and he had his chest out, and rightly so. And it's a great result for everyone, because he puts a lot of money into this business, and everyone sort of gets a win along the way. And for him to have that sort of result sort of validates his investment, and then certainly keep him going. Not that he's thinking of doing anything different, but he got a big kick out of yesterday.
Geez, you look at the Melbourne Cup betting, and we'll get to whether or not she does or doesn't, and if you can, let us know. But you got Via Sistina $4.60, Buckaroo $6, first, second favourite in the year-long colours, both, funny enough, by Fastnet Rock into a 3,200 metre race. There are some big decisions coming your way, I would imagine.
Yeah, Buckaroo's not one of our horses, but obviously their Sistina is. Yep. And we do have some decisions, and we hold an entry to obviously the Melbourne Cup, and hold an entry into one of the international races in Hong Kong. So it's one or other. I'll have a chat to Chris today or tomorrow and see how the horse is doing, and just see which way is the best way to step.
Well, Mackay David did it, so why couldn't she?
Look, it's Melbourne Cup. They don't come around. We don't get a chance in the Melbourne Cup all that often. We might have a live one here.
Every race is different, Vin. Sorry, mate. Every race is different, Vin. Every race is different, Vin. We know that, and but the sectionals tell us that it was 10 lengths better than Winx. I mean, that's just astounding. Yeah,
it was a phenomenal time, wasn't it? And to say she was 10 lengths better than Winx, well, you don't dare say that. I mean, she's the benchmark for all time, and we're just so excited that our mare could be talked about in a similar vein, but certainly not at her level.
So about her, look, she's got this huge lung capacity, hasn't she? She can sustain a massive run. We saw that in the Turnbull. We saw it in the Cox Plate. She's never really been much past the 2,000 metres successfully. Do you think she could make that quantum leap to 2 miles in this space of time?
Well, that's the big question. And being by Fastnet Rock, to your earlier point, that's a huge consideration. She's only raced up to 1.5 miles. We may, going to the Cup is a 2 mile race. on the other side of the coin, she's done it so well, and maybe this is her year. And then the alternative option is to stick 10 furlongs and go to Hong Kong.
God.
So, there's a bit to think about.
Yeah, and the contingent for, I know, again, it's not your horses, but the contingent for Australian horses going to Hong Kong this year looks very strong, doesn't it?
It does. No, it does. And it's a great weekend. And obviously our boss, Mr. Zhang's got a lot of connections in Hong Kong and throughout China. And it'll be, as I say, in Hong Kong and China, it'll be a big face for him.
Vinny, just for the uninitiated listener here, how did you come about getting her? I mean, I know you got it from I think a broodmare sale, wasn't it? And she was quite expensive. It wasn't cheap. But how did Yulong get it?
Well, bought her last year at the Tattersalls breeding stock sale in Newmarket, England, the December time last year, and we gave it to James Ferguson to get her conditioned up for her flight to Australia. He delivered her to Canterbury Racecourse for Chris Waller, and Chris had it at Canterbury, I think it was probably about 3 weeks or something, and then finished up into the Rambet, which she won. So, so that was the plan that came together, and since then she's had 6 starts here in Australia, 4 Group 1 wins, and real proper elite Group 1. So the team's done a sensational job with her.
2 quick ones on yourself. I mean, I used to love your work up there at the Gold Coast Magic Millions. You did that so fine. Have you enjoyed the sea change to going to Yulong? And how did you relax last night? Must be a lot of stress and pressure. I know there's a lot on Chris, but there was a lot on you, I should imagine. And what was your choice of poison last night?
Look, it's great to be part of the Yulong team. There's a huge ambition and huge intent, as evidenced by what the boss is doing. But we went all out to dinner in Chinatown here in Melbourne, and went to a restaurant, and we drank a lot of rice wine, which I don't recommend it. It has a pretty ordinary effect on you the next day, I can assure you.
Well, you're bearing up very well under pressure here, Vin, but obviously, but I'd love to know this, the difference between your position at Godolphin and now at Yulong.
Good question. Look, it's basically the same role, but a different approach. Godolphin's a fantastic organisation, great people, and great bloodstock and great farms, and not as a negative, but very corporate and very level and balanced. The Yulong systems are a little bit more harem-scarum than that, so there's plenty on, and it's flat out. So. But it's just, like I say, it's same role, different approach, but equally as enjoyable as each other.
So do you find that more stimulating than Godolphin?
Stimulating, no. It is more of a challenge because there's so much more happening in terms of building farms, and we bought a farm recently in Newmarket, England, and developing that, and buying new racing stock, new blood stock, stallion acquisitions, etc. So that side of it is pretty invigorating. But on the other side with Godolphin, it's all there. The systems are going, and it's got that unbelievable stallion roster. Fantastic broodmare band, and a great trainer to work with like James Cummings. So there's both sides were a great job.
Oh, absolutely fantastic effort, Vin. It was outstanding yesterday watching it, and I'm sure you'll still, again, as you say, shaking your head and shaking out the rice wine, and we wish you well for the future, mate, because it sounds as though you won't need much luck.
We all need luck. Don't worry about that. But the next couple of days, getting rid of this rice wine hangover might be a trick.
Hey, Vin, terrific. Thanks for giving us up your time this morning, and continued success. And whichever way she goes, she's going to be very hard to beat. She's a star.
No problem, lads. Enjoy the chat.
There he is, Vin Cox, MD at Yulong. Wow.
See, Marty, that's one of my favourite sayings. Not necessarily. Rice is the most consumed food in the world.
Yes.
But it doesn't make it the best. It doesn't make it the best, Marty.
I know exactly what he's talking about, because in another life we had to have a lot of business meetings up in China, and when you're eating the Chinese food, like, chicken legs and melon soup and that, you sort of go, oof, particularly after a big night on it. It's not the best. You think, gee, even KFC would go down all right.
Yeah, go for the greasier things. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
But
buddy.
which way? Okay, Bradley. Which way do you reckon she should go?
Oh, look, she could do anything she wants, but I don't know. Look, I think that, as you say, she's still a little untried past the 2000, and sometimes it can. I thought Show You Think could win the Melbourne Cup, and didn't quite come. It was a dirty day that day. Remember, it wasn't a great day, but still ran well. Look, if anybody could do it, she could. There's no doubt, but. I don't think they need to mess. She's very, very valuable. She's done her job, and she continues to do her job. And if they do have plans maybe to go north, maybe it's better that she doesn't.
I think strategically, from Yulong's point of view, she doesn't need to win a Melbourne Cup and have that on her CV. No. However, he, Mr. Zhang, may think that winning a Melbourne Cup could be the greatest thing ever. So he might want to do it,
Yes.
Time right, right here, right now sort of thing. This could be the chance because they don't just come around every year.
There's no better time.
Somewhere along the line, I'm just from a breeding point of view, Vesistina and Buckaroo, both by Fastnet Rock. They're both by Fastnet Rock out of Galileo mares. Quite amazing the way they're bred. So similar. But somewhere along the line, that stamina's could just rear its ugly head. What about the winner, One Smooth Operator in the Geelong Cup, has put him into $7 alongside of Jean Bruegel at $7. Vauban is $10 and Absurd, the stablemate, $13. Land Legend kicks out to $17. Akita Sushi after the Moonee Valley Gold Cup win on Friday night is $17. So Interpretation was good at 2 the other day in the Geelong Cup into $18. So what do you think? What do you think at this stage?
Well, I can tell you about One Smooth Operator. I look at a good mate of mine who drives me around and often drops me at the airport, etc. That's his job. He and his mate went out with Brian Ellison, and they're on 100-1 in the Cup. They couldn't believe that was prior to the Geelong Cup. They just had something on it the other day, and good. So they're absolutely wrapped, and no problems there running out the 2 mile, Marty, on that One Smooth Operator. It's got to be right in the somewhere. I mean, if it doesn't win, it's got to be in your novelties.
Okay. When they win like that, and that wasn't a bad field, that Geelong Cup.
No,
not to be sneezed at.
It swept past them, and that's a sign of a good horse, isn't it? And sometimes you can have blue collar wins over that sort of distance, but that was just that had a wing on every hoof when it went past them, which was really, really good. No, not Via Sustina like, but certainly, will not be out of place in the first Tuesday of November.
Very good morning to Chris Nelson. How are you, sir?
Good morning. I'm going well. Good morning to you, Marty. Good morning, Brad.
G'day, Chris. Great to be with you, my friend. A pretty good day at Randwick yesterday, and I'm pleased to say I tipped it to everybody on the Tab Radio. Amazing Eagle, what a start for us in race 4.
Your stable too, Brad. Your stable.
Yes.
The Ryan
it was airborne.
Stable, and you got in by the skin of your teeth there. Only won by a small margin, but they don't pay on margins, of course, which we know. And now, look, Amazing Eagle did a good job up front. Ran probably even time, and then the time home was a little bit stronger, so that probably helped. There were a couple there flashing home. Manos was very good and almost got there and did protest as well, but that never looked like getting up. You wouldn't have been worried about that. And King of Rousseau, who ran on quite well, just gave away too much start there, but he was peaking a little bit late. I thought High Octane was disappointing. So I think you could follow basically the first 3 out of that race going forward. I think there's a race for the second 2, certainly.
Okay, on to race number 2. The second one we'll look at, race 5, the Calendar Presnell.
Stop it.
Prost. Look, if you heard Adrian Bott before the race, Brad, you would have been...
Stop it.
You should have been saving on Prost. He threw it out.
Well, you know what happened? You know what beat you here, Brad, was the tempo. They absolutely crawled in this race. A Node had every possible chance to run 1,600. Deconstruction sat outside it. Crystal Clear was there at odds. And Prost was the one behind a Node, getting the run of the race, just bolting along and just won. But had the race been run at any sort of genuine tempo, anything near a genuine tempo, you would have won. So count yourself very unlucky. I'm sure that doesn't help when you look at your account, but you were very, very unlucky, and that's, 3 in a row now for Just Hardie's been unfortunately beaten by small margins. So it was clearly the run of the race. It was set up for the winner, but clearly the run of the race was Just Hardie.
I'll be critical. I'll be critical. Here's a thought, Jay Ford. Follow Pross through that hole and peel off its back. It came out like it was Merlin in the Golden Slipper, G Hall, all those years ago. Went sideways.
Yeah, that was a field of 8 yesterday. There was a few more in that slipper that he had to push out the way. So, he didn't have to really probably do that. The other one there that I tipped at a massive price was Totoka, ran last, but when they're running home 33.67 in the 1,600-metre race, got no hope in the world. So forgive that run altogether. But, yeah, you were stiff there, Brad.
Yeah, well, Lindemann always improves, with a run under its belt. And Marrera, he got the best out of its spirit. I love this horse. I love these horses that get out there and really take the races on, Chris, and, make it a genuine run race. And in the end, Lindemann was good enough to prevail.
Yeah, he was. And Joe was able to get that split or push, not so much a split, but push his way into the clear at the 200-metre mark. And fortunately, he did that in the nick of time, because if he had been a bit later, he probably wouldn't have got there, but he did. That first up run was better than it seemed on paper for Lindemann. He made amends there. Spirit Ridge, as you said, was very brave. Now, Democracy Manifest, he couldn't get clear either, and it was only at the 200-metre mark that he got clear. Then he wound up really well, and had this race been run a little bit more genuinely, he probably would have won also. So, a few hard luck stories there. Faulkner Park was a lot better. I did note he did peak very late, but that's okay. He'll improve plenty with the run. I'm not sure where he's heading. I don't think he'll be going back to Melbourne, though, because he seems to enjoy the Sydney way. Arapaho was very good late. It was the best of the closers. And I can safely say that Redina does not get anything past 1,600 metres, because it had a lovely run in the race. 1,800 metres too far for him.
How about the Group 1, the Champion Stakes, 2,000 metres. El Costello for Anthony Cummings and Josh Parr. Fights off Henline. Farm Agreement. Now, the filly Harlem Queen was pretty good in fourth.
Yeah, she was. But again, they've absolutely just hacked along here until that Ralphy, Flying Argento, took off and took over the lead at the 800-metre mark. They've run, between the 1,800 and the 800, they've run 62.03. So 1,000 metres in 62.03. And some splits there, 12.40, 12.72, 13 seconds. So those back markers, i.e. Swift Falcon, had absolutely no chance in the world of winning the race. El Costello, sitting up outside the leader, was the one to beat and got everything in its favour. So, yeah, it should have won the race the way it was run. It did win the race, and will probably go on to the Victoria Derby next week. Henline was better because Henline was closer in the run. That's all it boiled down to. Had Swift Falcon been closer in the run, and I'm sure he would have finished in the finish, but from gate 10 it was probably never going to happen.
Race 8 was the Group 2 for the fillies and mares over 1,400. I've got to say, I got a fetish for leaders at 1,400 at Randwick.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that.
Yes, well, exactly. Belclair, 7 years of age, and just kept running.
Yeah, and only third start since coming from New Zealand. And again, they didn't dawdle. There was a few of them going for the lead early on. Then when Belclair took the lead, was able to steady, but they really did dash home here. They ran a really quick split home, and that helped Belclair fight them all off and won easily. Macarena was okay. Magic Time was okay. Zoo Gotcha was wide, but gee, was still disappointing. It's gone right off the boil, hasn't she, Marty? Yep. Zoo Gotcha. And Q's Likely is an import from Germany / the UK, doing its best work very, very late in the race at $51. So, yeah, so you got to the disappointment. Belclair probably wins again.
Well, the trainer, that horse you just mentioned, and that winner went back-to-back, and the Five Diamonds Prelude taking out Björn Baker. Geez, flying this man. I Know a Star. Rachel King gets some money. She'll be heading across to the Breeders soon to ride over there. What a great Phillip that's going to be for her. But talk about this win of I Know a Star.
I'd love to go with her. That's on my bucket list, that place, Del Mar. So good luck to Rachel. Broke the track record, Marty, too, this horse. I Know a Star, winning this race. So set a new track record, just too fast for them. Went very hard early and sustained that speed all the way down the straight. So just hold on and beat Territory Express, who missed the start 3 lengths, and then weaved home quite well. Your horse, Freedom Rally, well, he was better this time around. He ran third, much better performance, but he's a hard one to catch, isn't he?
Yeah, but he might be back up to Queensland, I think, for you.
I think that's where he's better placed. And speaking of that, Yellow Brick, he was disappointing. He had every possible chance in the run. He loomed. Never really looked like he was going to get to them. And that last bit, Freedom Rally ran past him. So he might be better placed back up here as well. Osipenko pulled up lame. There's not much more out of that race. All honours have to be with the winner, I Know a Star.
What about north of the border? What did you make of Doomben?
Look, it was a good meeting at Doomben. Navy on the highway won again. She's very promising.
Yeah.
She's now won 4 of 5. But she did get a pretty soft lead, but she got the job done, 13.50. So onwards and upwards for her. A couple to follow. Definitely Poetic Drama out of race 7 should have won. Got into traffic problems at the top of the straight, then flew home. And this ex-Victorian with Tony Gollan, Solitaire out of race 9, was beaten by Tiger Shark, who broke the track record of Teltani Field set in race 1. Track record's going down like 9 pins everywhere yesterday. Solitaire ran second to Tiger Shark, just wants a bigger track and further. A double to Emily Lang, who I did say some time back, guys, would be the new Angela Jones. She may even surpass Angela Jones.
Yeah.
She's flying.
She is a ripper. Yep. Sunshine Coast today. We got a winner or two?
You've run out of horses.
6 races.
Only 6 races.
Well, we have. Yeah, and we were lucky to have the 6. We were lucky to get the 6. There was no horses going around, so it doesn't look good for Cup Week. Race 2, number 6, French Empire, I think, can knock over the Shorty. The favourite stablemate, number 5, is around $1.40 or $1.50. So race 2, number 6. And race 3, number 3, Godfather, at a price. I like him back to the 1,000 metres. I think he'll run well. I'm disappointed there's no three dividends in that race, but I still think he's got a chance at near enough to double figures.
Okay, Chris, we've got to get cracking, catch up with Ralphy and review that meeting at Moonee Valley, the Cox Plate meeting. But thanks for your time this morning. We'll listen in on Wednesday again.
That's a pleasure, guys. Have a great day.
Sunday morning, Tab Radio Racing and Sport is turned on. And you are listening to the dulcet tones of Marty Young and Brad Hardie on the Aftermath.
Yes, and how about Racetrack Ralphy from racetrackralphy.com.au. Very good morning.
You know, I mean, I use Vince Cardi's numbers all the time, and Vince's clocked Via Sistina is better than any of Winx's 4 performances.
Incredible, Ralphie. I'm not sure we all got that, but you might just want to repeat that because I just thought that was just an outstanding effort by her. But we had Vin Cox on a few moments ago, and he said Winx will always be the benchmark.
Well, she can be the benchmark, but yeah. So Vince Cardi's numbers through. I remember his first Winx's first Cox Plate in 2015. The cleaner led at 21 lengths above benchmark, which is obviously insane. It's probably about 10 lengths faster than most Cox Plates. Yesterday, prior to Jenny, went 17.9. So that's outlier even for Pride of Jenny, but she can normally cope with that. We'll talk about her in a sec. But what that meant was we got to see what was really under the bonnet with Via Sistina, because she'd yet to be in a genuinely fast tempo race in Australia. So we knew that she had sustained mid-race, sustained closing speed, but we didn't know how good she was. Well, yesterday we found out how good she was to the point being she ran faster than Winx did in any of her 4 Cox Plates. It was just an unbelievable effort, and it's, as I said, it immediately puts her on the podium of Mackay Diva, Winx and Black Caviar on the clock anyway.
So let's dig deeper. Prognosis then must have been a massive run, broadsiding from back, and Mr. Brightside, he was probably in the right spot, and that's about him.
100%. So a couple of things here. So Prognosis, I reckon Damien Lane they obviously did a lot of work on him to get him out of the barriers, and then Damien Lane's pinged him out, and then he's caught in the Pride of Jenny vacuum. On end down the line, that's zero criticism of Damien Lane. In fact, it's admiration to trust a freak jockey, which he also is, as well as J-Mac. But it meant that he was going seriously fast. So he probably hasn't seen that type of speed before, without obviously knowing his Japanese numbers, but as in being up on the speed. Normally, because he's tardy out, he's out the back. So he's got an insane speed, completely blew up late, but produced a run that, again, on the clock would have been competitive, if not winning, multiple Cox Plates. That's how good Via Sistina was. Despite the huge gap, Prognosis has just gone enormous. Broadsiding, I think him and Mr. Brightside were ridden perfectly. Couldn't have been any better positioned, and they've ended up running 3rd and 4th. And Mr. Brightside's kryptonite, as we repeatedly see, is a fast tempo 2000. The Hayes boys got him in a peak on the day to run to his absolute 2000 best in a high pressure race, and he missed the place. So really, I think what we often see wherever the region, wherever the race, in a fast pressure race, there's nowhere to hide. You get to see what's really under the bonnet.
Ralph, if you were training him, would you be taking it to the Melbourne Cup?
Yeah, well, that's a nice fascination, but I'm trying to think what Chris Waller is going to do now after the track work spill. And if anyone didn't back V16, there's a number of reasons not to back it, but if you fell for that one, I don't reckon you'll ever fall for the track work noise again. But I can't help thinking that he never thought about it with Wings. Her goal was the grand final. He's repeatedly shown that once you win a grand final, that'll do. So unless he's absolutely sole focused on it, he probably won't. If he does, she'll surely start favourite and pretty short favourite, won't she?
Well, yeah, the big and Brad mentioned Makybe Diva earlier, but when she won her Cox Plate, she'd already been to 2 Mile and won a Melbourne Cup. So that's the big difference there with her. Waller's already got Buckaroo there as well, so it's going to be an interesting. Yeah, we spoke to Vin Cox, and what did you take out of it, Brad? I thought leaning to Hong Kong. Did you or not?
Yeah, it sounded like that. They sounded like they wanted to go north.
Is that an option? Is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, and look, if you look at that and considering what the business interests are,
yes,
if conquering Hong Kong is better for that and giving a good break, because here's the thing, and let's go to Pride of Jenny. Sometimes you just got to trust the numbers, and if a horse does what she did yesterday, and yet let's use the Makybe Diva comparison. Makybe Diva won the Cox Plate with the Melbourne Cup always being in the grand final.
Correct.
Yesterday, the Cox Plate was the grand final.
Yep.
So, I would not put it this way, talk about value. Whatever odds versus theta is now, I don't think that's value, given that there's probably a good argument to avoid the Melbourne Cup and go to Hong Kong on what she did yesterday. We know she's an absolutely outstanding 2,000 horse, and we know that the Melbourne Cup can break 2,000 metre horses too, given the brutal nature of the 3,200 if you're not a stayer. So, I'd look, at a guess, I'd guess, and it's a complete guess, I'd guess that Chris Waller won't go to the Melbourne Cup. But if he does, as I said, it'll start favourite. Pride of Jenny, look, I'm annoyed at myself. Ultimately, you're going to blame yourself in this caper, and I should have just stuck with the numbers. A fast, high-pressure mile last week, quick back up to 2040 into another high-pressure situation. It's going to bust up a horse. If it was any other horse, any other stable, I would have had it 100 to 1. But no, I kept it on side because of the horse in the stable, but ultimately the numbers won. Okay,
you've got 4 minutes to get through this meeting. Away you go.
Well, firstly, I just want to say from Friday night, Akita Sushi will run well in the Melbourne Cup. It will run well in the Melbourne Cup. I'm not being a dill, but I'm tipping on anything. It's going to run well. I think there's still more to come, and it ran well. I think what you'd want for the WA people, the team O's got Acro Mantula absolutely on fire again. I think Lem Picker, if they scratch it from Caulfield, I think there's the wet track. I reckon it would have won if it was a Caulfield 1100 yesterday. That's how well she went. So she's back on track, and they'll probably go to Caulfield next start. The other race I think worth highlighting is the sprint. In fact, let's have a look. I know we've got 4 minutes.
Yeah.
How often do you see this? Pride of Ammo, 7th start as a 6-year-old, second up off a 284-day break into Barrackeel, 8th start as a 6-year-old, first prep started in May.
Yep.
So huge effort by both stables. They both got run super. I would put a big circle around I Am Unstoppable for the sprint up the straight on final day. I reckon that's its target. Not knowing, but it ran second in the Cornwall last year. They chose to give it a soft first up run at Warwick Farm. They then came yesterday, best last 800, 600 and 200 a day. We knew 1,000 metres at Moonee Valley is going to test it. It's got an explosion to come. So I wouldn't be surprised if I Am Unstoppable with a lot of horses off the Everest. That's a grand final. This might be the grand final for I Am Unstoppable. It might run very well there. And as I said, the other strong race was the mile. I'd be very wary of any Melbourne 3-year-old into the Derby next week, given the performances there of the Gloaming and Spring Champion and those serious horses like Henline and even Swift Falcon that was completely in a non-winning position yesterday.
Yeah, it's a real sort of weakish Derby this year, isn't it? Normally I like the form of the Vars, but I've just got question marks on it from yesterday. What's your data tell you about it?
Well, here's a fun fact. Yesterday, if you stopped both races at the 800-metre mark, the Vars and the Cox Plate, the leader in the Vars would have been, let me work this out, would have been literally 28 legs off the lead.
Yeah.
So and Caulfield last week was a hurdle speed as well. I actually bumped in one of the owners of the winner from last week yesterday, and so that's a week for them. I think the Sydney horses will dominate next week in the Derby. But look, yesterday was about one horse, one race, one trainer, one jockey, and all honours to it because we saw something very, very special.
Quick recap: horses to follow.
Horses to follow. I really want to be with I Am Unstoppable. I reckon she'll be good odds too. And then Lem Picker, I reckon they'll avoid the Flemington week and set a sprint on Caulfield the week after.
Racetrack Ralphy at racetrackralphy.com.au. Thanks for your time. We'll do it again next week.
Good on you, boys.
There he is, and there he goes, Racetrack Ralphy, and what a day it was. What about the crowd there at Cox Plate Day? And I'll tell you what, Brad, we had a very good crowd at Ascot yesterday too for Irish Day and the Belgravia Stakes, sponsored by McMahon. Via Sistina win yesterday in record time reminds me when Fred Kersley had Northerly in Melbourne. He was asked by a sports media person what had Northerly beaten. Fred's reply was the clock. They were showing footage of that fantastic... the
fighting tiger.
Well, the protest, and Fred was at his absolutely best in that steward's room that day. Lisa of Allenbrook, a very good morning, Lisa. I think it's Lisa's birthday coming up soon, isn't it? Or is it today?
Yesterday, Marty. It was yesterday. I got tipped off. Yep. My news-rated friend from 3AW here. Yeah, and Mel Brown's birthday yesterday, but Brownie was 78 yesterday.
How's he going, Big Malcolm George and Malcolm Gregory?
Struggling a little bit.
Is he?
Struggling a little bit. Got a few health issues, but we're keeping him on track.
Okay, here we go, guys. WA had more quacks that runs disastrous finish. Well, we've got a young cricket journo who follows the WA stateside, Paul Persick. Well, he went ballistic on our show on Drive on Friday about that performance. But have you ever seen, Brad, in top-class cricket a scorecard that looked like that?
No, I have not, Marty. 8 for 1, wasn't it? And the one was a sundry, wasn't it? So, that was just incredible collapse. But as I said, what does Vogie do? Well, Vogie says, they've got a few chits in the bank, the boys. They've been pretty unhealthy over the last 2 or 3 seasons on all platforms. So we'll give them a mulligan on this one, but don't let it happen again.
All right. Guys, not surprised, Warner's lifetime leadership ban has been lifted. This grub had CA over a barrel. He will never go away. Wouldn't be surprised if he gets back into the side to play India. Brad, with Cam Bancroft's batting disaster, is there still a chance he can make the Australian team? Take care. Have a great week. Hearing that Eagles pick 12 could end up being 15 or 16. Cheers, Lisa of Allenbrook. And happy birthday, Lisa, for yesterday.
Yeah. No, look, Cam's unfortunately not in the frame. As much as we'd like to bat up for him, and we admire and respect him as much as he possibly is, they paid him lip service last week. But as long as Pat Cummins is the captain of Australia, he won't even be in the same zip code, let alone in the same change room.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to be very tough. So at this stage, which one of the big 3 that we mentioned are going to get in there, or is my little smoky a chance, Nathan McSweeney?
Well, there's far more learned people than you and I, but
Correct.
I think they look like it all depends who you are. Some people want an established opener like a Marcus Harris, and then there's others that want to promote some youth with Consus, and of course your boy McSweeney. So I mean, I don't know. I really don't know that. As I say, that it'll be purely. But see, the problem with Consus is the fact that everybody thinks he's a New South Welshman, so he gets the walk up start.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So the old saying, you get the blue and the baggy green in the same bag. But he's earned. He's going okay. If you're going to promote youth, Greg Shippard was very vocal about it. He sort of said he thinks he's up there sort of in the Ponting ilk. Well, if he's that, we'll put him in now. But as I say, I think there's a lot of boys that they always go back to the default position, and that is you're supposed to make runs at Sheffield Shield. So that brings Harris and Bancroft, and I know that Renshaw had been batting up the order, etc. But yeah, I've got no idea, Marty, to be honest, and it wouldn't surprise me what they do.
What about the poor old English? They've gone and been beaten by Pakistan 2-1 in that Test series, 9-wicket defeat in that third Test, so they go down 2-1 in that series. They're as hot and cold as any team at the moment, aren't they?
You can see the tears running down my cheek, can't you, from where you are?
7:14. Time now to continue on with our guests, but keep those texts coming in on the Retrovision text line. We've got plenty to get through, but first off, let's relive the Group 1 Spring Champion Stakes from yesterday.
Chimes in 3 wide, 2 further back to Henline, 5 further back to Swift Falcon, who's making good headway. El Castillo takes the lead inside the 300 with Henline closing in. Still several lengths away to Swift Falcon. It's El Castillo and Henline head and head on the inside. El Castillo from Henline. It's going to be a fight to the end. El Castillo's lifting from Henline, and El Castillo won the Spring Champion, fending off Henline, and Firm Agreement ran through into third.
Yeah, fighting win there, El Costello, the 3-year-old from the Anthony Cummings yard, and Jonathan Crowley is the bloodstock manager for Anthony. He joins us on the Aftermath this morning. Hi, Jonathan.
Good morning, boys. How are you?
We're going very well. Not as good as you guys would be going today, though. Group 1 victory yesterday. Congratulations.
It was. Thank you very much. I actually enjoyed listening back to the commentary again. It was fantastic. Great result. He was tough, wasn't he?
Oh, he was tough, Jonathan. Congratulations to you. And tell us about the meteoric rise of this horse. I mean, it's come from a maiden and now done fabulous things and still continuing to do so by the look of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're at the bottom of them yet, to be honest. I mean, you say meteoric rise, but I mean, we've had an eye on this bloke for quite a while. I mean, there's a couple of blokes, some very good owners in this horse that we kind of said to them about 6 or 8 months ago, you know, this is where we're headed. He's always shown ability, so you know, but it has been a very good prep for him. He's 4 from 4 now, so and I think what really stamped it, I suppose, was the win at Warwick Farm. You know, it was you know, he drew wide barrier, wide gate, and you know, for him to win from there was a bloody good effort. You know, so. Yeah, it's very good.
So let's track it back. So you win that race at Warwick Farm over 1,400 metres. You then go to a midway benchmark, 72 over the mile, and you win that. Yes. Straight into the Gloaming at 1,800, and you defeat Swift Falcon and Firm Agreement there, and then you repeat the dose in the Group 1. So you've been stepping him up in distance, in class, and he keeps ticking every box.
Keeps ticking every box, and I mean, I suppose it's testament to Anthony, and you know, he's an unbelievable trainer. To be fair, you know, he has planned this to the minute, and you know, this is always where we were headed. So you know, please God, he's pulled up perfectly well. So please God, El Costello and I head to Melbourne tomorrow.
Fantastic. That's good. That's a great lead in for us for that. And he was there to be beat yesterday, wasn't he, Jonathan? I mean, Henline had the drop on him coming into the straight, and there was a mid-race move by a lesser-graded horse, which sort of broke the field up a little bit. But he was there to be beaten there yesterday, and he showed great fight.
He did. He's very dogged. You know, he was tough, but as you said, he was there to be beaten. But I'll tell you what, like in the Gloaming, nothing really came at him, and some people might have thought, you know, it was a little bit of a soft win. But if horses come at him, he just pins his ears and he shows another. He goes into another gear again. You know, so. You know, it was very impressive.
When you look at these horses who've got the racing pattern like him of being able to race forward and get over ground and then sprint from racing forward, a lot of times they don't win by a big margin, but it's very hard for those horses from behind to get past them.
It is. When they pin their ears and they show that sort of fight. You know, you'd be confident enough. I was confident enough yesterday when Henline, he gave me a bit of a fright, all right, at one stage, I suppose. Henline, and to be fair, credit to Anthony and Sam, their horse ran a very, very good race. He worked on Tuesday morning here, and you know, he worked really well as well and looked great. But when he came to him, I suppose El Costello, he's a bit of a fighter, you know. He fought again and kept going. So. I think you watch it, but I think he won by half a length, didn't he? Yesterday, so
coming away again.
Exactly. So,
Jonathan, obviously Josh Parr's got a great affinity with this race as well. It's his third win. He's got a great affinity with the horse. He's ridden it 3 times out of 4. No thought of changing him. He'd go with you to Melbourne, won't he?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He does his track work. And Josh has been on board, from the early days of the prep. So, it's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really?
Now, you're a bloodstock agent, Jonathan. I'm interested in the breeding of this horse. He's a Castle Vecchio who's a done deal, but he's out of a Fastnet Rock mare. And we just had a conversation with Vin Cox about the fact that both Via Sistina and Buckaroo are by Fastnet Rock out of Galileo mares. So,
absolutely. I mean, I suppose I worked for Coolmore for 10 years, and, they're an amazing outfit. The stallions are very good stallions themselves, but then they turn out to be very good broodmare stallions as well. So, Fastnet Rock is proving that. So I mean, look, it's just you can't beat breeding, as they say.
So no stamina doubts at all with him at the 2,500.
Not at all. No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Good. That's what we want to hear. Because talking to our form analysts this morning, they've got big question marks on the Melbourne form of those 3-year-olds going into the Derby, and he was very keen on the Sydney form, and that's your horse. So that's the way we'll be going.
I think that's right. So look, you don't want to be too presumptuous or anything like that, but he's... Look, as you said a while ago, he's ticked every box that we've put in front of him so far, and I don't think the 2,500 will be too much of an issue.
Jonathan, obviously the Cummings name is there in big lights. Anthony's a great horseman. What about anything else in the stable? Anything else going to be going down to Melbourne with it?
No, it'll be just him for the moment. With a lot of young horses coming through that are looking very promising. So, anyone listening this morning on your show, if they want to get involved in the stable, they're more than welcome to give me a ring, because there are some very, very nice horses coming through, and the future is very, very bright.
Jonathan, that is beautiful work. We love your style. Thanks for that. Thanks for coming on the program. Boys. All the best going into the Derby.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much. Cheers.
There he is, Jonathan Crowley. What was that old song? Never let a chance go by, Brad? That was it at its best. Hey?
Yes, absolutely.
The Irish, I got to tell you, they are the best at this caper. Boys, I'm absolutely filthy. $15, 6-leg multi worth $16K. I needed Democracy Manifest to win. Now, if they'd run a true speed, would have romped in. Filthy. Wowee.
Yeah, well, it was made mention by the race caller, who I think may have an interest in the horse, that it was in an interesting position at some point back on the fence, in an awkward position, I think what the connotation was. And you're right there. With any luck at all, probably should have finished a lot closer.
Okay, last one. Then we're going to catch up with Rod Noden next. Fabulous day on the punt. 12. Oh, it's Jim Pompey. Jimmy, the best. You are the best. Fabulous day on the punt. 12 winners across Sydney, Melbourne and Perth, and the Moonee Valley Early Quaddie. Jim Pommy Pie. I'm going to make you our resident form analyst, Jim, on drive every Friday.
Get him on.
Yep.
Get him on.
We are going to get him on. There is no doubt about it. What about this on Friday night?
Locked and loaded for the Great Western Final. Racing, flying out another James, mustering Apache Havoc. Ned goes forward, wide out, what a ripper. And then came Sunset Ali. Well back, Lip Tricks, Bow Cruise, Torino, but Apache Havoc's clear. 5 in front of What a Ripper. And then another James out wider, Sunset Ali, Apache Havoc by 3. All he has to do now is aim straight. Apache Havoc wins the Great Western for Noden. Second, What a Ripper. Third, another James.
Yeah, aim straight, all right. Straight to that winning post. Rod Noden joins us. Big win there from the Apache on Friday night in the Great Western. Rod, well done.
No worries there. Thank you. It was great.
Well done, Rod. Congratulations. And a great call, too, because he was a little slow to go.
Yeah, well, that's what I was worried about, because I had boxes 1 and 2, and they muster pretty quick, but the first step's usually a bit slow. But I actually thought Apache Havoc was going to shepherd for Ned, and Ned would get through, but as soon as it gets a bit tight, Ned falls back a bit.
Yeah, he doesn't like it in there too tight, but this was a really good win.
Yeah, he's up to about 44,000 now, so he's going along all right.
And you mentioned Ned, they're littermates, aren't they?
Yeah, oh, it's a great litter. And, they won over 100,000 now, so we had Buttermy up in that litter as well. She won 36,000, Ned 30, Apache 44, Liberty Rules 10, Liberty Star 15. No Trace 8, and there's only one dud in the pack, and he's still going around. That's Birdie Port.
Okay. And how did you come to get involved with them?
I started off in South Australia and was just walking dogs for trainers as a kid, and then eventually got my own dog, and then I obviously moved to Kalgoorlie and tried to get them going in the goldfields. I had your old man signed up there from the Grand Hotel.
Yeah.
I had 100 people, women, in the goldfields signed up, and we were going gangbusters, and it just didn't seem to happen. We tried to go to the trot track. At first, they wouldn't have a bar of us because the trots were going so well in Kalgoorlie.
Yeah.
So then we decided to move to Perth to get involved in it because we already had about a dozen racing down here with Mark Moroney, and then about the time I was about to leave, the trot track rang me up and said, the trotting people rang me up and said, you're still interested in putting a ground track in the middle of the Crookshanks?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no. I said, I'm on my way to Perth now to get amongst the big time sort of thing. And after a while, we just bred first off, and we bred Vocal Enforcer. And Benno before that, and he won 50 grand for us. Then Vocal Enforcer, he won 300,000. So that was 2011. We won Greyhound of the Year, Track Star of the Year, and Brew Bits of the Year, and everyone's saying, where'd these people come from? They're from Kalgoorlie. They wouldn't know nothing about dogs.
Just on that, Rod, just going back, didn't they have, then they tried to get a site down the bottom of Piccadilly Street somewhere for it as well?
Yeah, so Bull Earl and myself were going to try and get us just a straight track after that, and we were going to get it at the back of where the vets are now. And I think there's a show jumping thing there. So we were going to try for a straight track then, but it was all too hard. So then we just end up moving to Perth, and after about a couple of years, I snatched it, and much to the wife's disgust. I nearly got divorced. I was only on 200-something thousand. She said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to go train greyhounds." And she said, "Joking." And I said, "Well, they don't back answer me. They don't cry on fly-out day. They do everything they're told and eat everything I cook and try their heart out. So what else can I do?
Yeah.
Better than 30 whinging fitters."
We're speaking with Rod Noden, the winner on Friday night. Now, Rod, you obviously said you had Ned and Apache going into the a fairly open field, by the way. Did you have a preference going into the meet on Friday?
I preferred Apache, but I just thought, looking at it, that Apache might jump and let Ned along the fence is the way I was sort of reading it. But then I forgot that Ned's blooming heart's not right in it when it gets a bit tight. So,
yeah.
So probably the right result come out because Apache jumped. I think the 7 crossed Ned, and straight away he pulled out and tried to go around him, and I still thought he could have run on, but he just didn't fly. But I'm getting him checked out this morning just to make sure he's all right.
Oh, they've both put together excellent records, haven't they? Early pace, their key assets as well. Did they always show above average ability when you were breaking them in?
Yeah, because I broke in 2 litters last year, 16 pups. I'll never do it again in my life. It's too much work. And I always use the tennis ball slinger and chuck and throw it uphill to the pups and that, and that's where I hope the blooming early speed comes from. And they were always the keenest one, especially Apache. He did stand out. And then towards the last 6 months, I suppose, Ned started showing a bit. But you have a look at Ned's record. I think he's had 10 wins in 10 seconds, but he never runs 3rd or 4th because it gets a bit dangerous back in those places.
So, Rod, how many have you got in the kennel currently, and are you looking for more?
I've just got down to I'm probably got about 14, and we're going to breed with Jump and Jules, which the previous litter we had the exact same mate, and the previous litter won 100,000. This litter will probably be over 150 now, and so we're going to use Jump and Jules and breed from her. But I've only got room for a couple more. I've probably got 14 in training, and well, the Goldfields boys are always looking to put dogs in there because I've got 3 dogs from the Goldfields with all the blokes you'd know, Marty.
Who name the team?
Well, running for 2 won about 27,000 for me, and that was Jacko and Brett Armstrong.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, they went and bought 2 horses, and they bought where is it? They bought Russian to the Bar.
Yeah, I'd stop
and,
it. Yeah.
And Wild Bill, who's over in Melbourne. But they've got another dog with me at the moment, but that's Pop's Pocket. She's not that fast, but then I had Red Hot Savaloy for the Boulder Footy Club. I could only win a couple with him. And then the Nullarbor Rats, which is Pat Sayers and the Burns boys and all that lot, they got Nullarbor Rat running with me. He's not a bad dog, but he's pretty injury prone. And but geez, I went home to the tower one day, and when he wasn't winning, they give it to me in heaps. But I said, "There's that 30 of you. It's only costing you 33 cents a week, and it's spilling $12 beers all over me."
Jeez, you got to stick with Paul Jackson. He's just become one of the luckiest owners out of the Goldfields. And so, were you a Tigers man, Rod?
Yeah, true and true. You know, I played for Boulder, and I played for Richmond and Glenelg, of course, and Claremont. Only Tigers.
Yeah, you're inflicted. There's not much hope there for you, is there? Hey. Now,
you strike me as a college boy.
Yeah.
Well, I got into a bit of a trouble as a youngster because I sold one of the other trainers some drugs, two brown Smarties for $20. His first claim to fame when I was about 18. But he put one in the dog, and it won at Whyalla by 5 lengths, and the other one melted in his pocket. He wanted to kill me on the Monday.
Hey, Rod, they tell me you're pretty good at favourite numbers as well. Little birdies told me.
Oh, yeah, Bloomin', young Honey Bloomin' hadn't rang me, but I won the 11 grand again 2 weeks ago. 10,980. I haven't done a recent total, but the year I left Kalgoorlie, I won the 120,000. I won the whole pool.
What's your secret?
About 16 years ago. And then, so I was working at Canowna Bell then. They put it over the two-way, and there was 37 on shift, I think. 34 turned up at my place that night. It was our last shift on the Sunday. I told the missus, you better buy Crownies. I said, you know what these whinging miners are like? They only want the best. They had to shoot down to Armstrong's Butchers and get the best blooming steaks, the best blooming beer, and that they all turned up.
Oh, well done. Now, what is the secret to winning favourite numbers? Rod, come on. Yeah. You got to spill it. What's the secret?
18,000 one morning, and Brownie from the blooming the Broken Hill at the time. I went down there, so it looks like one favourite numbers. He said, "Oh, do you want me to cash the check?" And the ticket. I said, "It's 18,000." He said, "Oh, I've got 18,000." Went to say, "Give me $18,000 in cash." I went home and threw it all over my son Ryan, and said, "Oh, son, shoot down the shop and grab me some lollies."
Not the brown Smarties, though. Leave them alone.
The brown Smarties.
Now, I'm going to ask you this again. I've asked you 3 times. What is the secret to winning favourite numbers?
I use the grandkids and the kids' numbers.
Oh,
so I have the same numbers every week. Yeah, birthdays, yeah. And just keep putting in. If I'm able to win a run, like there was a jackpot this week, and I was at the races, and I was up a couple of grand, so I just kept putting $60 bills on. I woke up in the morning, I had about bloody 300 system 10s on me account. That did me no good. I was wondering where my money was going. I was just pumping it all in the paper.
Oh, you're a beauty. So let's follow the dogs going forward. Where's our next winner coming from?
I think stick with that litter. It'll be they'll be back again on Friday, I think there'd be races for Bim and Ned and Socky, which is what's the name? Follow Me Home, Jumpin' Jules. Oh no, well, Jumpin' Jules we've actually retired her, but Ned and Apache should be both in, and Liberty Star, I think she's a girl at Bim and just doesn't quite get there. She ran second on Friday night on the last race, but she's a good little goer. She's a good bitch. Yeah, mainly that litter is going pretty good. The old Nullarball blooming rat, he's blooming hurt his blooming back hoof again, so he's going to be spelled for a while. But yeah, just mainly that litter at the moment.
Hey, Rod, one off the text line here from Macca. He wants to know, how long does the breaking in process take with the greys?
You probably want probably a couple of months. By the time I take them to the track as youngsters, they're probably 6 months old, and let them watch over at the Camp Hunters Trial Track, and you put them in small cages there, and they just watch what's going on. Then they start barking and watching and that. Then around about the 12-month mark, you start hand slipping them to chase it. So you at home you have a rope and a squeaker, or one of those little bears that the dogs play with when they bite a squeak. So you train them with that, and then once you start getting them around, you want them ready by about 14 to 16 months, because you'll have to start racing 16 months. So it's probably an education period, and then you come back and then give them a rest, and then you start putting the work into them. You start jumping them out and start going the full length around the trial tracks, and then you graduate to Cannington, you hand slip them and that. So a good break. If you've done pre-work with it and you're going to get it broken somewhere else, probably 6 weeks. But if you're doing it like I do it, I just do it at education all the way through, 3 months before you start going to the track, and that, just showing them all the various things, they've got to get used to the sound, get used to walking through just the kennel block. I remember getting there one day with the dog there, and he walked in the kennel block because he'd never been in there. The floor was different, the cages were different, so he started panicking a bit. So that takes everything into account.
Hey, Rod, been terrific to catch up. Well done on the win on Friday night, and keep taking those favourite numbers.
No worries. Thanks for that.
He's a beauty from up on the goldfields. Rod Noden there. Bradley, favourite numbers yesterday. We had the big jackpot, paid $1,343. Right. There was plenty of numbers in.
Oh, must have been a few in it.
Yeah, there was.
A few winners.
During the week, midweek favourites, 9 numbers in, one winner, $47,000. They bought it off an $18 ticket. So if you're not playing favourite numbers and you've never played before, get involved. Great game of chance. And a lot of people are winning a lot of money for not a great deal of outlay.
Yeah. Now, Kevin Kelly and I used to play all the time, but I stopped. I've never won. Have you won?
Nah, never, ever. Ever. That's what I want to know. I got to get the birth dates of his grandkids.
Sounds like Roddy was cheating, like at the football tips. It was like you put the tips in on Monday after the results.
22 away from 8 o'clock, and Brad Hardie is over there in beautiful Melbourne. Boys, new training regime for runners in the Melbourne Cup now instituted. 3 laps of the track unassisted. Chris Waller, genius. Cheers from John of Crowley.
How many bets does he have?
Many as Rod Noden has. Favourite numbers. How good was he? Rocket Rod.
Oh, he was brilliant. He's brilliant. You'd want to go to a nosh up with Roddy.
For sure. That is for sure. He'd look after you. Chris Pike is our man for the NBL, and he's in spanking form. He joins us now. G'day, Chris.
Good morning, guys.
Oh, come on, Chris Nostradamus. What are you doing? I was listening in last Wednesday, and you've tipped the Wildcats minus Cotton, and then Webster came out, and you've tipped them to win at home and on the line, over the line, and you've got it done.
Yeah, I expected them to be competitive. I don't know if I expected them to win the game, especially once we found out that, both their starting backcourt was out with no Webster and no Cotton, but they were fantastic on a night where they shot the ball horribly, but they simply wanted it more. They outworked the Sydney Kings. They out-hustled the Sydney Kings, and they just looked a desperate team. And I know Brian Goorjian was pretty scathing on what he saw from his team, but full credit to the Wildcats. They just wanted that win more, and they willed their way to victory more than anything, because they, like I said, they had a horrible shooting night, but all of the effort areas they were fantastic in. And, you know, I mean, they got to the foul line 31 times. They had 27 offensive rebounds, and and Keanu Pinder. I mean, he rediscovered that form from the opening game of the season, and he was brilliant as well. So full credit to them for not wanting to use excuses and just putting the hard hats on and getting a big win. You mentioned they didn't shoot well. This has been the theme all year. Apart from one or two games, their shooting's been horrible. Yeah, it has. Some of these numbers out of the game were incredibly bad. So Ben Henschel, who started as the point guard, he had a good night overall. So he had 8 assists, and they outscored the Kings by 18 points when he was on the court. But he went 0 of 10. Then Elijah Pepper, who he's known as a shooter, he went 3 of 15 for the game, but he showed a lot of toughness, I think, to hit 2 free throws at the end of the game that won the game. So he still stepped up despite that. Christian Doolittle, he went 4 of 15. Dylan Windler, who has come in as a renowned shooter, he went 2 of 7. So those numbers are horrible, but they just willed their way to win. All those guys are good shooters. So we've seen Pepper hit some big shots. Ben Henschel has been one of the best underage players in the country for a while now, and we've seen him hit a lot of big shots. We know Doolittle can hit big shots, so I think the shooting will come. All those guys are good shooters, so I think they're taking the right shots. And then when you've got Bryce back in the team, obviously we know how he can shoot. So I'm not too concerned. I mean, if you can get your effort right and you can bank on that, and then, you know, if your shot falls or not, as long as you're taking the right shots, I think they'll be okay. It's just the effort level that now needs to be the non-negotiable, and they found, I guess, what the benchmark now needs to be on Friday night, and we've seen it be a little bit hit and miss up until then. And we talked on Wednesday, you know, we thought they would be going 2-5, and then they've got the Hawks this coming week as well, who are on top of the ladder, so they could have been 2-6. So they still haven't played well, and they're still not shooting well, but to steady at 3 and 4, the way they've started, I think they've done pretty well to stay afloat.
Yeah, well, you said in the live ladder they're 6. They've got the Hawks upcoming. They'll have to shoot the lights out there, and then the slamming Sammy McKinnon boys on the Sunday. Well, it won't be Sammy's team anymore. So he's done a really good job with the Phoenix. He replaced Mike Kelly for these last 3 games, and he's made no secret. He said he wanted to be the coach, and he went to the management of the Phoenix and said, "I want to be the head coach for the rest of the season," and they told him, "Thanks, but no thanks. You can coach these 3 games, and then you have to hand off to an American who he's still never met his playing group. He'll meet them today for the first time. He's never met any of the coaching staff he's going to be working with, and now he takes over after last night's game, where they were pretty good for the most part, despite losing to the Hawks. But it's a fascinating situation. I can't think of anything like it that I've seen where. It's not like Sam was just an interim coach or placeholder. He seriously wanted this job. He made no secrets about it. He wanted to be the coach, but now a guy who's never been to an NBL game physically in his life now comes over and takes over the job this week. How do we get a handle on this competition at the moment? It's a bit up and down, form a bit hard to follow. Just looking at the ladder, Illawarra 6 wins, Melbourne 5, Sydney 5, Adelaide 5, New Zealand 3. Perth are in the top 6 with 3 wins, and then outside it goes Cairns, Tasmania, Brisbane and South East Melbourne. What are your overarching thoughts on it at the moment? It's really tough because every team is missing a key player. So we saw the Hawks win last night against the Phoenix, but they were missing their point guard, Trey Kell. We saw Melbourne put in a really strong effort to beat the Hawks on Thursday, but they were without both Shea Ili and Matthew Dellavedova in that game. We saw Sydney come here on Friday night, and they were without Jalen Adams, who's a former MVP. The New Zealand Breakers are just completely decimated. We've talked about their travel woes, but now all of a sudden they're missing 4 key players as well. And they play the Kings today, and I think the Kings will destroy them. I feel a bit for the way the Breakers are travelling. We know the players the Wildcats are missing. The Cairns Taipans are missing both Taron Armstrong and their starting centre, Tanner Groves, and they're really struggling without those guys.
the Phoenix are even missing their starting point guard, Derek Walton, as well. And we saw the Jack Jumpers bounce back last night, and they found a way to score some more points, which we talked about on Wednesday. They needed to find some more points, and they found some last night and got a good win. So it's really tough to get a handle on it. I mean, the Hawks, I think, are still the standouts. They did a great job to bounce back last night, but you can throw a blanket over everybody else. I think Adelaide are looming as the real dark horse. Montrezl Harrell is an absolute excitement machine, but he's also delivering. He had 36 points, 15 rebounds, 5 block shots on Thursday night for the 36ers. So he's an incredible weapon for them to have on Friday night. So yeah, the Hawks are still the standouts, but yeah, there's not much between everybody else.
So the two games today, Sydney Kings $1.21, Breakers $4.40. You think Kings will win? The lines there at 10. Do they cover?
No, I think they get the line. I think the Breakers are in a bit of immediate trouble. They're missing 4 key players. No Mitch McCarron, no Mojave King. I think they're in big trouble. So I think, and the Kings will be had a fire lit under them by Brian Goorjian after the way they played on Friday night. So they'll be. They did a job on Cairns, I think, in a similar situation by 26 points a couple of Sundays ago, and I think it might be a similar sort of margin later today.
And Melbourne United 130, Taipans 350. The lines there 8. Do they cover that?
I think they do. So wow. Melbourne will probably get Daly back. The Taipans still missing those key players, and I know Cairns have got the wood on Melbourne, but that's been really eating away at Melbourne's coach Dean Vickerman. So I think he'll want to get a bit of revenge and send a message today. So I think Melbourne will win that one quite comfortably.
Chris, thanks for coming on the program. We'll talk again next Wednesday on Drive.
Sounds good. Thanks very much, guys.
There he goes, Chris Pike. He's across it now. Melbourne Cup Day, Brad. You know where you got to head? If it's not out to Ascot, you're going to the Broken Hill Hotel. 4-course menu, $95, or the cocktail garden party. 4 courses? That's where I'm going to the cocktail garden party. $85 per person in the cocktail party. And on arrival, complimentary champagne and mimosas now. 9361 1038, or hop on the website, Broken Hill Hotel, and they will look after you.
On the Aftermath, you're listening to Marty Young and Brad Hardie on Tab Radio Racing and Sport. Yes, and a very busy Simon Hill joins us this morning. Hi, Simon.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Yeah, good. We're on the blocks. I know you're busy. Let's get into it. Villa and Bournemouth, a 1-1 draw. And tell us about this game. Brentford and Ipswich. What a match. 4-3 to the Bees.
Yeah, crazy. Brentford are a force of nature, really. You wonder where the goals are going to come from this season after Ivan Toney left. But Brian Mbeumo has filled the breach. He's got 8 goals this season, including the winner in the 96th minute in an absolutely crazy game against Ipswich. They trailed 2-0, but managed to find a way back. Didn't help that Harry Clark suffered the ignominy of scoring an own goal, giving away a penalty, and getting sent off, all in the same game for Ipswich. Only the second player in Premier League history to do that. So a really big 3 points for Brentford. Ipswich still struggling. They've lost 10 points from winning position so far this season. The other game you mentioned, 1-1 between Villa and Bournemouth. Evan Nielsen, the £40 million signing for Bournemouth, getting the Cherries another good result. It beat Arsenal, of course, last week. 96th minute when he cancelled out Ross Barkley's goal. So Villa, who were the better side throughout and had a goal ruled out for VAR, long deliberation for that one, ruining missed opportunities.
Good morning, Simon. Let's stay in that time frame. Draws for Brighton and Wolves and Everton and Fulham.
Yeah, 2-2 between Brighton and Wolves. Another late comeback. Wolves, who are bottom of the table, still without a win this season, but they'll take great heart from this. Goals from Ait Nouri in the 88th minute, and then Mateus Cunha in the 93rd, cancelling out Danny Welbeck and Evan Ferguson for Brighton. And the Everton-Fulham game, again, an injury time goal from the Portuguese striker Beto, earning Everton a share of the spoils after former Everton player Alex Iwobi had put Fulham in front. That keeps Everton's unbeaten run going, and disappointment for Fulham as they thought they had the 3 points in the bag.
Haaland scores again for your boys, 1-0 over the Saints against Southampton.
Yeah, City are not convincing at the moment, but they keep getting the job done. I mean, it was the 95th minute when they got all 3 points against Wolves last week. They got an early goal this time, thanks to Erling Haaland's 11th of the season. But they were frustrated by some good defending from Southampton and also some poor finishing. But City back on top. Southampton 1 point now from 9 matches. They're rooted firmly at the bottom. City 32 Premier League games unbeaten. They're only 6 weeks away from going an entire calendar year without a loss in the Premier League. And, of course, that now piles on the pressure for both Liverpool and Arsenal, their 2 main challengers for the title as they meet today at the Emirates.
OK, we'll get to them now. Greg L. on the text line. Tell me, Simon, can my Wolves stay up with 2 points so far this season?
It's going to be difficult, but to be honest, the fight that they've shown over the last couple of weeks, I mean, to be honest, that they were, worthy of at least a point against City last week. It's just that, you've got to remain switched on in the Premier League for the full 95 minutes. And, I mean, thankfully they did last night with those 2 late goals. That will give them heart, but it's going to be a long old winter for Gary O'Neill. There's no doubt about that. But are there 3 worse sides in the Premier League than Wolves? I tend to think that there might be. So I think they've got a chance.
Before we look at the upcoming games, obviously Forest too good for City. Leicester City, that is.
That game was on Friday. Big 3 points for Nottingham Forest. That takes them into the top 6. They're going well under Nuno Espirito Santo. Leicester, one of the newly promoted sides, of course, so they're going to be a bit up and down on their return to the top flight. But Forest tracking along nicely at the moment.
OK, let's have a look at these games. Chelsea $1.67, draw $4.35. Newcastle $4.40. Palace $4, draw $3.95. Spurs $1.81. And then West Ham $2.88, draw $3.55. Man United $2.35. Before the late game, Arsenal $2.45, draw $3.30. Liverpool $2.95.
Well, I reckon there's some value for punters in at least 3 of those games. I fancy Chelsea will be too strong for Newcastle at home. Newcastle are on a bit of a bad run at the moment, 4 without a win. Palace against Spurs, look, you never really know what you're going to get with Tottenham. Some weeks they're world beaters, other weeks they're relegation fodder in terms of their performance. And Palace are desperate for a win. They still haven't won after 8 matches. It all points to a Spurs 3-pointer, but London derbies are sometimes a little bit different. So I think there might be some value in the draw in that one.
Yep.
Similarly, Man United will be favourites going to West Ham, but United are so hot and cold as well, and they've won only 2 of their last 17 matches in London. And, of course, they've been in European competition. They had a long journey to Fenerbahce in Turkey as well in the Europa League. So I think there might be some value in a draw in that one. And I'm going to say the same thing for Arsenal against Liverpool. Arsenal desperately needed results after losing to Bournemouth last week. They're going to be without Saliba, though, who's suspended after a red card against the Cherries. Bukayo Saka's a big doubt as well. Liverpool slight favourites, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if that game ended up in a draw, given that Arsenal are at home.
And Simon, quick recap, the Glory down 2-0 to Wellington Phoenix.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough season, I think, for Perth. Obviously, much changed squad, new coach, but they've got to defend better. I mean, the 2 goals that they conceded, particularly the second one yesterday, I don't know what the fullback is doing. He's gone walkabout, just allowing Tim Payne to steal in at the back post. A better performance than they had last week against Macarthur, but let's be honest, that wasn't difficult. But they've got to start, trying to find some cohesion. Obviously, the high pressing game is going to take time. But, yeah, it's going to be a tough summer, I think, for the Glory.
Minute before the news, Auckland plays Sydney, 280, 375 the draw, 233, and then Western United are playing the Western Sydney Wanderers, 255 United, 365 the draw, 255 the Wanderers.
Yeah, I think that's about right. Auckland will probably get another big crowd today for the visit of Sydney. Steve Corica's former team, of course, they were great against Brisbane last week. Wouldn't be surprised if Auckland pulled off another shock. The other game, I think you're probably looking at a draw in that one. Western got a point last week. Wanderers were okay in the derby, but still finding their feet under Alan Stajic. I wonder if Juan Mata will play the full game and what he'll make of playing out at Tarneed today. That'll be interesting to watch.
Thank you, Simon. Enjoy your day.
Cheers, guys. Have a good week.
There is Simon Hill. Brad, about to leave us for loans 1, 2, 3 and also Retrovision.
Yes, absolutely. Group 1 Morts and 1-800-100-100. He can do things the banks can't, the Noden. You have a great weekend, Marty, the rest of it, and enjoy the Northern Cup.